Hi, once again, all you Weather Geeks. It's a fresh edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. We haven't done one since last Wednesday because of some weird scheduling at the end of last week. I actually was on the morning show on Friday. I got up at 2:15 in the morning on Friday. That was a little strange. I used to work those hours at my previous job back at AccuWeather, overnights, early mornings. So it was actually a pretty strange transition for me in this job to move towards evening. So it was a little bit of a throwback Friday for me, a flashback Friday, if you will. But we're back at our regular schedule this week. We should have a Weather for Weather Geeks video just about every night this week. And, you know, it's been since Wednesday since we've done one of these. And, of course, much has happened in the world of weather since the middle of last week. And we're talking, of course, about Harvey, which, I mean, the scenes out of Houston are just unbelievable. You know, I was at AccuWeather back in 2005 when Katrina made landfall in Louisiana, and some of the scenes and the horror that you saw coming out of New Orleans with that, I didn't think I'd see that again in my career, and here we are 12 years later, and somewhat similar scenes in Houston. Now, this is a much different event than Katrina was, but nonetheless, I mean, just the pictures and the video are just stunning here across southeast Texas. These are some radar estimated 72-hour rainfall totals, you know, and these are in the ballpark. You know, I've seen some actual amounts up over 30, 35 inches, but a lot of places are somewhere between 20 and 30 inches of rain just in the last few days here across the Houston area. And this is not just confined to Houston. Southwest Louisiana, a lot of problems there as well. Not as much publicity with this because, well, Houston's the third or fourth biggest city in the country, but still, you know, a foot of rain over the last few days, maybe even 15 inches in some parts of southwestern Louisiana. And this evening it is still raining, of course, across southeast Texas, and what you see is what you get. The center of the system is actually over water now, and Harvey might actually briefly re-strengthen. Now, not a lot, but a little bit. None of it's good news for this area, in that, you know, the rain's just going to continue for tonight and into parts of tomorrow and probably into parts of Wednesday as well. And just to put things in perspective here and compare things to our local precipitation, in the Houston area, 25 to 35 inches of rain, pretty common just since Friday. Here in Youngstown, since January 1st, we've had 32.59 inches of precipitation, counting the rain and melting down any snow. So they've basically picked up what we've seen in 8 months in just a few days in the Houston area. So again, just remarkable. You could talk about the statistics forever because they're just mind-boggling. Now, here across northeast Ohio and into western PA, our weather was fairly cloudy today, especially in the late afternoon and the evening. Our weather being influenced by this upper-level low-pressure system, which is right over southwest Michigan, Chicago, northern Indiana. Kind of a slow mover, and it's what's been producing some showers in parts of central Ohio. Not here locally. We'll be dry for most of the evening. Showers have been dotting the landscape back towards I-71, and even some thunder and lightning closer to being right underneath that upper level low in western Ohio, up into parts of Michigan. Kind of a stormy evening around Detroit this evening. What can we expect here? Again, not much for the rest of this evening. I think showers will become a little more likely as we go towards tomorrow morning. Now, this is going to be real light stuff and spotty. But again, for the kids at the bus stop tomorrow morning and anybody heading off to work in the morning, you might need the wet weather gear a couple of times. All right, only a few days still to go in the month of August. We keep close tabs on the daylight at this time of the year because it's really getting noticeable now that we're losing daylight in a hurry. In a couple of days, we'll be down to 13 hours and 10 minutes. It was only 20 days ago, or today's the 28th, so only 18 days ago, that we had 14 hours of daylight. We've lost almost 50 minutes just in the last few weeks, and of course this trend continues. This is what late summer and fall is all about. We'll be down to 12 hours in a little less than a month, so we're going to lose another hour and 10 minutes between the 30th of August and the 25th of September. So yeah, it's really starting to get noticeable. Big picture for tomorrow looks like this. A pretty cool day because clouds are going to dominate, kind of like they did today for most of the day. Notice our sunset tomorrow evening at 8 p.m., I should say. Whoops, I didn't mean to hit that. Let's try this one. 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. This will be our last 8 p.m. or later sunset for a long time. So, you know, another sign of the seasons. 13 hours, 13 minutes of daylight for you tomorrow. By the way, August, pretty dry month. If the month ended today and we've only got a couple of days to go, and I don't think much rain is going to fall tomorrow, this will go into the top 30 on the list of driest Augusts on record. Temperatures will probably end up somewhat below average, but not by a crazy amount by any stretch. Again, showers here and there tomorrow morning. I think the afternoon's largely dry tomorrow. Then as we go into the day on Wednesday, kind of in between systems, and I can't totally rule out a quick shower in the afternoon, but it's like a 10 to maybe 20% chance kind of a thing. Notice as we go into Wednesday and Thursday, a couple of things going on here. The remnants of Harvey finally on the move by Thursday. At the same time, a cool front is going to be approaching us from the north. A couple of things will happen here. I think there could be a shower or a thunderstorm here and there on Thursday with the front. The front is likely to sag to our south Thursday night into Friday. That will give us a nice, albeit cool day on Friday. Anyone heading to the Canfield Fair Friday looking just fine. But this moisture from Harvey may push in as we go into the upcoming weekend. There's model disagreements here, but here's the look at the European model, which I tend to rely a little more on in the medium range. And it suggests that in a much weakened state, the remnants of Harvey make a one-day appearance here on Saturday. Now, worst case scenario, on Saturday, it rains most of the day, some of it heavy, and temperatures might not get out of the 50s. That's the worst case scenario. That's not the most likely scenario. I can't rule it out at this point, but it's certainly not the most likely scenario. The most likely at this point is we have some rain around on Saturday, but not anything all that heavy, and temperatures won't be all that cool, not the 50s, maybe the 60s and 70s. That's the way I'm playing it right now, but don't want to discount the European model idea here that it just turns into a washout on Saturday and very chilly as a result. Even if that happens on Saturday, we can salvage the rest of the weekend, Sunday and Monday, while there's a chance of a pop-up shower or a storm. I think Sunday and Monday are, at this point, looking largely okay. So here's what I did with the official Canfield Fair forecast. Again, real isolated stuff Wednesday. I didn't even include the chance in the forecast here. Somewhat higher chance on Thursday with the approach of that front. We get into the cool and dry air on Friday. At this point, keeping the rain chances Saturday fairly low, but boy, stay tuned to the forecast for Saturday because we'll have to make a lot of adjustments between now and then, depending on what the model trends are. And then back to scattered stuff Sunday and Monday. And notice the temperatures, not that hot this year. I put this graphic together last year showing the Canfield Fair high temperatures since 1965. Our hottest year for the fair was in 1973. The average highs that year were in the upper 80s to around 90 when you count all 6 days. The coolest wasn't that long ago, 11 years ago in 2006. Average high temperatures were in the 60s during the fair back in 2006. Our forecast this year is in the yellow here on the right-hand side of the screen, calling for lower to middle 70s just about every day of the fair, and that would make it our coolest Canfield Fair since 2010, and a fair bit cooler than last year. Last year was actually a very average year in terms of temperatures, right on that average mark going back to the mid-1960s. Some one-day records here. The hottest day since 1965 at the fair was August 29th, 1991, when it was 96. The coolest daytime high, again, since 1965. In that cool year of 2006, we only hit 58 on September 2nd. And the wettest one-day rain total I could find since I looked back to 1965 was in 1965 on September 1st, 1.65 inches of rain. So this year's fair promises to be not that hot, potentially wet at times, particularly concerned about Saturday, but even that's a tough forecast at this point, so check back often. I thank you for watching the Monday Night Weather for Weather Geeks, and I'll see you back here on Tuesday evening.